Good quest, everyone. That goblin enchanter was nearly the end of us all.
We would have beaten him sooner if someone hadn't blown the Horn of Skulls and unleashed the evil skeleton army.
I can't believe they attacked us. I thought they'd be a lot nicer.
The inscription clearly reads, "He who blows the horn will face the wrath of the evil skeleton army." Evil.
Then why would anyone ever blow the horn? It doesn't make sense.
Maybe the creator of this mystical artifact was super tired last night and didn't completely think it through.
Well, well. Look what the ogre dragged in. Hello, Bruldar. Looks like someone opened up a +1 can of butt kick on your sorry excuse for a questing party.
What are you doing here, Dennis?
That's Sir Dennis to you. And we're in the market for a new home realm, since there was a lice outbreak at our own community center.
The Brock is already spoken for. Our banners can be seen from miles away.
You know the rules. If a rival party challenges you to battle and wins, you relinquish control of your territory.
We've defeated you before, and we'll do it again.
I like your moxie, wizard. I officially throw down the gauntlet in challenge. Well, I'm not really gonna throw it down. I just made it today and the glue's not totally dry. But you get the idea!
What is this? Some kind of turf war?
Indeed not. Turf wars are strictly forbidden on community center property.
If I catch any of you engaging in a turf war, you'll be banned for life. Understood?
Yes, it's a long time. The battle begins at first light!
Really? That seems a little early.
Fine. How does, say, 9:30 work for everyone? Yes? Excellent! Then the battle begins at roughly 9-ish.
That was the perfect dinner.
Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. Usually you're not a big fan of tofu.
Oh, it was as bland as ever. But I'm in too good a mood to have my night ruined by that sponge of sadness. Have you heard of a website called Whole Lotta Comics?
Of course, they have the largest collection of online comics.
Well, they just offered to add the Stanley dynamic to their lineup. Instead of readers in the hundreds, I'll have readers in the thousands.
That's incredible. 100 people read your comic?
I'm starving. What's for dinner?
Tofu.
Did I say starving? I meant full.
Hey, Larry, how was the football game?
Ugh, I'm starving. What's for dinner?
Tofu.
Don't tell me. You're full too?
No, but I'd rather starve than eat that sponge of sadness.
It's really not that bad once you get past the sponginess.
And the sadness. Hey, would you mind doing the dishes solo? I'm so exhausted. I took some big hits at football today.
Well, I had a rough day, too. You try fighting a pack of mountain dwarves in close quarters. Deodorant is optional in their culture.
You were just playing a game.
So are you.
Football is more than just a game. You should have seen me today. Tackling, running, more tackling. And that was just to get a good seat on the bus.
Well, who spent his day slogging through a cursed swamp, fighting a giant spectral serpent with only a rusty dagger? It was Ronnie. But I held up his cape so it wouldn't get wet.
Please, I would love to see you last 5 minutes on the football field.
And I would love to see you last 5 minutes carrying a slightly damp cape.
Okay, let's do it.
What?
Let's swap places tomorrow. You be me and I'll be you. Then we'll see which one of us has it harder.
Done. But don't come crying to me when Sir Dennis runs you through with his magic blade, forged from elven steel.
More like elven cardboard.
Yeah, but if it catches you on just the right angle, no spell's gonna heal that paper cut.
are you dressed like Larry?
It's a long story. Today I am Larry, and Larry is me. The end.
Oh, okay. I guess that's fine, as long as no one gets hurt.
Oh.
I had one rule! Larry, are you all right?
It looks easier when Luke does it. Okay, I'm off to do battle with a bunch of nerds with swords.
We prefer the term athletically challenged. Just don't lose the battle. It's important to me.
Same goes for tonight's football game. Wow, we picked a really bad day to swap places.
One rule!
What happened?
I was about to upload my strips to a whole lot of comics and the computer just died.
I think something might have fried the hard drive. Is this a grilled cheese sandwich?
I got hungry while I was working, so I threw it in the warming tray to get the cheese all gooey.
It's a disk drive, not a warming tray.
It can be two things.
Can you fix it?
Maybe, but it could take a few days.
Days? The website needs all my comics by tonight at the latest.
Did you back up your work?
Nice try, Lori, but you can't back up work any more than you can back up a car.
And you let him drive? If you don't have a backup of the files, you can still rescan them from the originals.
That's true. I keep all my original hand-drawn strips in that big blue box that sits next to the recycling bin.
Oh, no. I put those out to be recycled. I didn't think they were important.
You didn't notice they were my comics?
Oh, I did. That's why I didn't think they were important.
Hey, Darnell.
Oh, hi, Larry. You look different today. Are you using a new conditioner?
I'm not really Larry. I'm Luke. Larry and I have swapped places for the day, but don't worry, you won't even notice the difference. So, who's up for some footballery?
I am. Quick, go long.
How long should I get?
No, I mean run down the hall a long way, and I'll throw you the ball.
Right, got it. How did I do?
Hey, nerds. Oh, sorry, I mean athletically challenged nerds.
What are you doing here? Where's Luke?
He sent me in his place.
So, how does this work? We run around swinging plastic swords at make-believe dragons?
Oh, Larry. Larry. You nailed it.
But today is different. We're defending our realm against another questing party.
Okay, well, just pretend I'm Luke.
Fine. As our wizard, your primary responsibility is casting spells of protection around us.
You got it. Shazap, you're protected. So, when's lunch?
That's not how it works. You need to utter the proper incantations
Guys,
and...
relax. Nobody will harm you while I'm around, okay? And that's a promise. A magical promise. Well, he obviously doesn't believe in magic. I think this is going well.
Seriously? We're already down a man.
Well, yeah, but that guy was just dead weight. I mean, he didn't even have a weapon.
He was a bard. His voice is his weapon. His harp is his... Okay, yeah, he didn't have much to offer, but still.
Something's wrong. It's too quiet.
Defensive positions!
Oh, stop being paranoid. There's nobody that's going...
Surround them!
That was actually impressive.
I see you have a new wizard.
Shazap, you're a frog.
No, I'm not. I'm a knight.
Shazap, you're a knight.
He is a knight! The prophecy foretold of this wondrous moment! And of this less wondrous one.
Enjoy your last few minutes as lords of this realm. Soon, it will be ours.
Why did they leave? They had us.
They would never risk an all-out assault so close to Pam's office.
What does Pam have to do with this?
With what? Remember what I said. No turf wars allowed. Now, where did I leave my coffee?
According to the prophecy, you forgot it in the microwave.
So much pain.
You did good out there. Until you blacked out.
Did we win?
Win? That was just a light practice. The game doesn't start for a few hours. You might want to rest up. We're playing one of the toughest teams in the league.
Okay, I'll just lay down for ever.
Why is your eye twitching like that? Is that normal?
Got it.
It's fixed?
No. I'm still trying to get all of the old food out of it. You know it's a computer, right? Not a mini fridge.
I'm doomed. Ooh, but thanks for the banana.
Are you sure you don't have your comics backed up somewhere else?
That's it. We're forgetting about the most obvious backup drive of all. Your brain.
Ooh, this my brain thing sounds promising. How does it work?
You just have to duplicate all of your comic strips from memory.
You're saying I should redraw 100 comic strips by hand in one day?
You can do it. I know you can.
Okay, let's do this. But first, I'll need some energy. Pass me that big bag of trail mix from the computer pantry.
I didn't find a big bag of trail mix.
Did you check behind the milk?
Meow. It's just a cat. Let's go.
Great, a ketchup stain. That's harder to get out than troll blood.
Maybe we should go find the rest of our team. I bet they got the enemy on the ropes right now.
So, you guys ready to surrender yet? And that's the secret to a moist and delicious coffee cake that will never fail to impress. Then, X sweeps out over here and draws O out of the pocket. All right, does everyone understand our trick play?
One quick question. The X's are hugs and the O's are kisses, right?
We've already been over this, Luke. The X's are the kisses. Okay, let's get out there and win. Woo! Let's go, let's go.
Wait, I can't move. My leg muscles just knotted up. Maybe someone could X them better? Not even a quick O?
Where's the other guy?
Dennis's crew got him. I'll never forget. I want to say Carl?
I'm gonna go check on Bruldar.
Did he get captured?
Not exactly. He had to scrub ketchup out of his cape.
That's even harder to get out than troll blood. Wizard Larry! Little help here!
Don't worry, dupe. I'm coming. Nothing will stop me from... Good evening, ladies. I'm not with them.
Oh, Dupe. I'm so sorry, buddy.
I saw everything. There was nothing you could do differently.
I think I got most of it out, but, Crumbeard! Oh, sweet Duplefist Crumbeard, trusted companion. The bard will sing songs of your exploits forevermore. Or he would if he hadn't been brutally slain.
I fear not death. But before I go, I must share my deepest secret with you. The truth is,
He's gone. And his secret died with him.
And back to work I go.
I'm so sorry for your loss. They're close. The saliva's still wet.
Then why don't we just give up? It's just a goofy nerd game.
Maybe to you. But if we lose this match, we lose the Brock. How do you think Luke is gonna feel when that happens?
Hey, I'm in the same boat. Right now, Luke is probably losing my football game big time.
But I bet he's still giving it his all.
Yeah, you're right. Luke never gives less than 110%. Okay, we're not out yet. We can still take those guys.
Huzzah! With you by my side, there's no way we can lose. I spoke too soon. Promise me you'll never rest until you avenge my...
Shazam! You're dead!
You did it! You did it! You did it! You did it!
I'd appreciate it if we never spoke of this.
I'm already dead, remember?
That's it. The last one. 100 comics, each a perfect recreation of the original.
Oh, I don't know. The last 75 or so are pretty rough.
What was that? The robots finally come for us?
What?
I'm so tired.
It was the computer. I finally found the problem.
Cough syrup?
Let me guess. You put this in there because your computer had a virus?
No, I put it in there because I hate the taste of it. And also, it's the last place your mother would think to look.
Were you able to access your dad's online comic strips?
Yep, and I've sent them off to the Whole Lot of Comics website. Congratulations! This Stanley dynamic will now reach more people than ever.
Sweetie, that is so exciting.
So, I just drew 100 comic strips in one day. For nothing? Maybe we should send these over as well, just in case they want the originals.
Great idea, Dad. I'll put them in this special mailbox that will send it directly to the website.
Oh, listen to that mailbox go. Isn't technology great?
Larry!
Luke, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in the middle of a football game?
I left at halftime. The coach took me out after I scored my second touchdown on our own team.
Still, 2 touchdowns.
I know, right?
All right. Enjoy your last moments as lords of the Brock.
It's not over yet, Dennis.
It's Sir Dennis. Sir! Show a little respect, dude.
It's my battle. I'll take it from here.
Wait. I got you this far. Let me see it through. Trust me, I can do this.
Okay, they're all yours.
After him! There's nowhere left to run, wizard.
We don't have to do this. Instead, I propose that we all join forces. There's plenty of room here at the Brock for all of us to nerd out. together.
Let me think about that. No. Get him! It is done! The battle is over. And the Brock is ours!
I warned you! No turf wars! You broke the rules, so now you and your friends are banned from the Brock. For life.
What about him?
He offered a peaceful resolution. You should have taken it. Now take your paper swords and get out of my realm!
Guess this wizard had a few tricks up his sleeve after all.
Yeah! You did it!
I got lucky, but you're a much better Luke than I could ever be.
Oh, and you're a much better Larry than I could ever be. Oh, if you hurry, you can still make the second half of your football game.
Oh, good call. I'll see you guys later.
There goes the worst wizard I've ever seen. Good riddance, I say. Good.
Let it out, Bruldar. Let it out.
Gentlemen, let's welcome our newest member. A knight of few words, but many noble deeds.
It's obviously Larry.
No, it's not.
So what's his name?
Laronius Stan Sword.
Seems reasonable.
Submaronius.
I think they bought it.
Perfect. Tonight, we feast on the bones of our enemies. Too much? I can tone it down.